Good evening, everyone. I have 7 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David.
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean.
Here.
Ms. Emily Hamburg.
Here.
Mr. Justin Smith.
Here.
And Mr. John Welch.
Present.
And you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Mark Posen, not here this evening? I don't see him either. Okay. Well, we had him scheduled to lead us in prayer, so we'll just have a moment of silent prayer and we'll proceed. Amen. Please join me in pledge of allegiance to the American flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening we have 3 proclamations to read, so I've asked Mr. Tyler Dean to read the first proclamation on Memorial Day.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a proclamation for Memorial Day to the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas. Greetings. Whereas since 1868, Memorial Day has been uniquely an American day of remembrance on which we pay our respect and honor the memory of more than 1 million Americans who died in battle and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country and our freedoms. And whereas in keeping with the traditions that have preceded us, many of us have friends and family members who have selflessly given themselves to the future of this great nation and who we honor on this day. And whereas these soldiers are someone's child, spouse, parent, and it is important that we remember every day in this great nation that our freedom came at a price. And whereas these soldiers, or whereas veterans have bravely served in all parts of the world, not only fighting for our freedoms, but for all of mankind. And whereas the city of Bel Aire, Kansas joins with other cities throughout the state of Kansas and the United States of America in honoring those who have given their lives and recognizing that their sacrifice were noble, their heroism unparalleled, and their dedication to God and country unforgettable. Now, therefore, I, Jim Benage, or I, Tyler Dean, by the virtue of the power and authority vested in, vested in me as mayor of the city of Bel Aire, do hereby proclaim May 30th as Memorial Day in the city of Bel Aire and do urge all our citizens to join in remembering our veterans.
Thank you. Mr. Greg David.
National Public Works Weeks for May 21st through 27th, 2023. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the supportive and understanding and informed public is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs, including water, sewer, streets, public buildings, solid waste collection, landfill, wastewater disposal, code enforcement, and engineering to provide these essential services to our citizens. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, Greg David for Jim Benage, Mayor of the City of Bel Aire, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week in the City of Bel Aire, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life.
Thank you. And lastly of the proclamations, Mr. Justin Smith on National Kids to Parks Day.
National Kids to Parks. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas May 20th is the 13th National Kids to Parks Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust, and whereas National Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks because of the decline in park attendance over the last decades. And whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas the National Kids to Park Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas the National Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. And therefore, I, on behalf of Jim Benage, Mayor, do hereby proclaim May 20th as National Kids to Park Day in Bel Aire and urge residents of Bel Aire to make time on this day to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to determine agenda additions. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of minutes from the May 2nd City Council meeting, the minutes of the May 9th City Council special meeting, approval of the reappointment of Ty Lasher as city manager for the next 12 months, approval of reappointment of Jennifer Hill as interim city attorney for the next 2 months or until a new city attorney is appointed, and approval of the reappointment of Terry Beal as municipal court judge for the next 12 months.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. David. Any discussion? And none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is discussion and approval of appropriation ordinance. So the reporting period includes one payroll period, payment of $12,000 to Reese Concrete for 2022 sidewalk grant projects approved in the fourth quarter of 2022. Capital improvement projects, including $197,000 for Cedar Pass, several approved public works projects, and 2 debt service payments for about $1.5 million.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I'll motion to approve appropriations ordinance number 23-09 in the amount of $2,435,988.57.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We have no city requested appearances this evening, so we'll move on to citizen concerns, and do not see any citizens unless Mr. Rupke wants to speak, but I know those gentlemen are from Waste Connections, so okay. All right, well, we'll move on to reports. So we'll start with council member reports. Ms. Hamburg, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. Only thing I had was last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to tour the waste management recycling plant in Hutchinson, where our recycling goes along with a number of other communities. And it was very interesting. It was a neat thing to see. They've added robots in the past couple of years to help sort more efficiently, and that was neat to see in person. The takeaways for citizens would be, and I didn't know this, we do not need to wash out our recycling, and we can leave lids on. So we can stop doing that if you were under the same impression I was. And then don't put your plastic bags in there. It jams the system eventually, or they have to manually pick them out. So 2 things to just apply right now. Thank you, Mayor. And thanks to the Utility Advisory Board for setting that tour up. It was very neat.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Welch.
I have no report.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Friday, the 12th, I did attend a special meeting of the CCUA along with the mayor and Councilmember David, and Mr. Dean attended as well. We held a special meeting to work on a response to the KDHE regarding the authority's consent order. What I expected to be a pretty short meeting to approve a drafted letter turned into a 2.5-hour discussion where we did finally approve a draft letter and have sent a response to the KDHE. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. David.
Mr. Mayor, I also attended that meeting as mentioned, and appreciate the consensus we finally reached to get a good response. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayor, do have a short report on 5/3 earlier in the month. So day after our first meeting of the month, I attended the Bel Aire Chamber lunch. There was a report that the Bel Aire Chamber has a record 39 members this year, and they're looking to exceed 40. So congratulations to them and their efforts to do that. The actual meeting was at the FedEx facility here in Bel Aire and Sunflower Industrial Park, which was really neat to be able to take a tour of that facility. Some of the interesting facts and hopefully I have these right. Daily, they handle 25,000 packages, 150 trucks, and they have about 350 staff between the drivers and the package handlers is kind of what they reported. During their peak season, they have up to upwards of 35,000 daily packages. So it was pretty cool to hear some of the stuff about that. And then on 5/10, I attended the Center for Economic Development and Business Research at WSU. They hosted an industry research exchange on manufacturing. Mayor was also in attendance. It was just a good overview of the manufacturing industry. Jeremy Hill did a great job, as well as Megan Williams of the Kansas City Federal Reserve was on hand and discussed impacts to manufacturing with the rate environment that we're in. So I appreciate all those leaders for putting that together. And then I did want to note, I noticed in the Kansas Government Journal this month, the April issue, in the Kansas Government News section, our former city attorney, Jackie Kelly, was presented in the magazine as a feature with her being the new Derby city attorney. So I just wanted to again congratulate her and wish her success with her new endeavor. And that is the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the chamber tour of FedEx, but had other obligations. So anyway, so I'll move on to the mayor's report. And I understand City Council Member John Welch will have a birthday before our next meeting. And also I understand our interim Bel Aire City Attorney celebrated her birthday last week. So happy birthday to both of Mr. Welch and Ms. Hill. Ty Lasher also received an award, public employee recognition from the League of Kansas Municipalities. So congratulations to Mr. Lasher. Today, Bel Aire Chamber gave a $250 check to Anna Yee at Northeast Magnet High School as the first place winner of the Bel Aire flyer that she designed. There were 5 submittals that between Gary O'Neill and I, we had to choose. All were great entries. So congratulations to Miss Lee. As many already know, on May 8th, Mr. Lasher and I met with the governor, lieutenant governor, and several department heads and to discuss issues related to Integra coming to Bel Aire. They're all very supportive and will need feedback on specific needs. As you know, we are reviewing those with engineering studies and other research. So if and when Integra wins the CHIP funding, we can hit the ground running. We must have a plan in place before CHIP announcements is made. I'm going to switch over here to the computer. Okay. So on Tuesday, May 9th, I attended the Today Show event at Northeast Magnet High School where they honored Lissay Powell, affectionately called Pow Pow by her students. Miss Powell is a history teacher at Northeast Magnet High School. Back in January, her students gave her a gift, and the video of her reaction to that gift was put on TikTok and received over 10 million hits. Always great to recognize those who make Bel Aire a better place to live on the edge. Also on May 9th, I attended the monthly WAMPO meeting. Ty Lasher gave a great overview of what we may need in the area of infrastructure to support the Integra project. Of course, we have to get those engineering studies done to be more definitive about that need. David Dennis, also on the county commission, gave a short overview of electric vehicle charging station investigation. This is preliminary info, so more discussion is needed. Those stations at a tier 3 cost, at a tier 3, there's 3 tiers. At a tier 3, they cost about $250,000 each for a 150 kilowatt hour charging station. He said one risk is fire. It takes about 1,000 gallons of water to put out a gasoline power car fire. These charging stations take about 300,000 gallons of water, or about a third of Bel Aire's daily use of city water citywide. So the caution is to get into these charging stations with full knowledge of what is needed to support such a charging station. If we had such an event in Bel Air, it would take 1/3 of the capacity of the water tower by Isley to put out such a fire. As a car guy, David Dennett is not opposed to these electric cars or the charging stations. He's just giving us caution to make sure we can support them with needed infrastructure. There is an upcoming Transportation Safety Committee workshop to discuss crashes in Sedgwick County on Thursday, June 8th from 4 to 6 p.m. This will take place at 325 North St. Francis Avenue. This is an effort to see what can we do in Sedgwick County to reduce injury and death due to car crashes, since our numbers are significantly higher than they are in Johnson County. That is both in total numbers and per capita, they're higher. On Wednesday, May 10th, I attended the workshop on manufacturing, forging a growing Kansas economy, which Mr. Dean had also spoke about. One big takeaway from that meeting is the stagnation of wages in manufacturing in Kansas. While Wichita is a major manufacturing hub in the USA, our wages have not kept up with the rest of the country. Mr. Hill speculated that this may be a major factor as to our losing some 16,000 people per year to other states. And he said it's not economics, it's not cost of living, because they're moving to other states with the cost of living is approximately equal what our cost of living is. So it's a wage issue in those cases. So on Wednesday, May 10th, I also attended the tour of waste management as well as Ms. Hamburg, and she posted a lot of great information on Facebook concerning the tour. So I won't repeat all the good things she put out there. So on Friday, May 12th, I also attended the special meeting in CCUA. As Mr. Smith said, it was a 2.5-hour meeting, but in the end, we ended up with a letter that was approved 6-0. And that final letter did not have any material change from the draft that was initially presented. On Saturday, May 13th, I attended the Sedgwick County Association of Cities with Laura Rainwater taking the election commissioner's position. The executive coordination work of SCAC is moving to Sedgwick County staff. More details of that transition will be available at the next meeting. New officers were elected. Chair is Pat Stivers, Mayor Mays. Vice Chair is Ashley Valakez, the Mayor of Keachai. And the treasurer will remain as Gina Gregory, who's on Valley Center council member. There was a discussion about the fire board. Sedgwick County Commission thought the fire board was too loaded with firefighters, so they changed the board to disallow firefighters on the board. A new member was selected from SCAC, and that is Jeffrey Witherspoon. He was nominated by the mayor of Benton. And Congressman Estes attended this meeting as well, and he gave a brief overview of the latest in DC. He talked about the debt limit discussion, R&D expenses versus capitalization, and the issue on the southern border. So that is my long-winded report. I now ask our interim city attorney if she has a report. All right, thank you. And Mr. Lasher, do you have a report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Wanted to remind our citizens that this Saturday is the curbside cleanup. So if you have items to be disposed of, they recommend putting those out the night before because they start pretty early on Saturday morning. So in order not to miss the truck, make sure that you get your items Friday night to the curb. Some updates on street repairs and some of the repairs that council has approved over the last few months. The asphalt and curb repair that Kansas Paving was doing is complete. I know that inconvenienced quite a few folks around town, but that is done. The second phase of that will be micro surfacing, and that should take place beginning in the second or third week of September. And so hopefully that Woodlawn will be open by then. So we'll limit some of the inconveniences with our neighborhood traffic. Water and sewer projects are ongoing. The cured in place that council had approved, they're working on that now. And one thing that citizens can do if they're interested in the street work that's going on, we worked with PEC that there's a you can go to our website and there's a location you can see what streets have been repaired, what streets are upcoming in the next 5 years that are on the plan that council has approved. And and then we're also working with them to get the water and sewer work that's being done. So the goal is that if someone wants to know if there's any kind of public works work that's happening in their neighborhood, and they can go to this website and see what's happening or what's coming up. So
Great.
Thank you, Mayor.
I appreciate the visibility that I think that will go a long way to help citizens understand where we are on things. So great. Moving on to ordinance resolutions and final actions. So the first item is approve amended application for retail sale of fireworks. To date, 3 applications have been approved for permits to sell fireworks in 2023. City code allows for no more than 4 permits in 1 year. Bel Aire Fireworks sponsors the Bel Aire Lions Club and has submitted an application to be located in the northwest corner of 45th and Woodlawn, the same location as last year. And they have all the needed agreements and would like to receive the 4th permit. Staff assigned with location is worked out. I visited with Gary O'Neill earlier today, and he said that they worked with the owner of the property, so that agreement is in place. So it's going to work. I mean, I know a couple months ago, we didn't think it was going to work because we thought it'd be under construction, but he says, no, they've been delayed for some reason or another. So it's going to work. So anyway, I'll consider a motion if
Mr.
there's
Mayor.
discussion.
I do want to point out this application is technically late, but I do understand all the problems they had. And given that, I will make a motion to approve the amended application for retail sale of fireworks permit for Bellino Fireworks Kansas, Inc., Bel Aire Lions Club, for a tent to be located near the northwest corner of 45th and Woodlawn, conditioned upon approval and inspection by the Sedgwick County Fire Department.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Welch and second by Ms. Hamburg. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Next item is a request from Waste Connections to increase trash rates. So solid waste collection and recycling agreement with Waste Connections that was approved in 2016 allows for Waste Connections to request a 2% fee increase annually. Included in your packet is a letter requesting such an increase, as well as an agreement. Council approved a 1.5% increase in 2017, nothing in 2018, 2019, or 2020, a 1% increase in 2021, and a 2% increase in 2022. Mr. Herschel West is with Waste Connections is here to explain the need and answer any questions. Mr. West, if you come to the podium, please, and speak with us, and glad you're back in better health.
Yeah, trying to be. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you. Again, my name is Herschel West from Waste Connections. Thank you for your business, for one.
Can you
We'll
speak
start
into the
out there.
microphone? Speak into the microphone.
Oh,
Because
can you hear me better?
this is broadcast.
Okay.
and so people don't hear if you don't speak in
So
microphone.
thank you for your business for the last probably 6+ years on this last agreement. How are things service-wise? It's been a year since I've been here. To see if there's anything going on that we need to improve on.
One question I have, are the trash bins getting replaced with smaller containers?
They look small, a little tubbier, but shorter, maybe by 4 inches, 2 to 3, 4 inches. But
I've heard
bigger
some
end.
questions and comments and complaints about that.
no, they're still 95-gallon carts.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just look smaller.
They're a little bit more round. Correct. Anything else? Well, again, I'm here to request the 2% increase for 2023. Nothing's really changed. The operating costs has significantly increased, still increasing, except what you guys can all see is fuel. Fuel has gone down since last year. But everything else, all operating costs have increased. I've been in the business for almost 20 years, a little over 20 years, and the CPI is the highest we've ever seen it. Our CPI this year is 8.76%, and we're only asking for a 2% increase. Last year, you gave us 2%. I think CPI was right under 4%. I think last year, 3 point something. If I remember right, should have wrote that down. But that's the reason that we are asking for the contracted of no more than 2% increase for 2023.
Any questions or discussion for Mr. West? There are none. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say a few things on this first.
Okay.
So I can certainly appreciate, being in business, costs have definitely continued to increase, and everybody hears about inflation. I think Jeremy Hill actually noted that inflation was at a little under 5%, 4.5%. So I certainly understand the need as a business to ask for cost increases, and on a contract that you have the ability to request that. Also, one of the advantages I think I wanted to point out to kind of citizens of having this bulk agreement with Waste Connections, at least the way I see it, is we do have a longer term contract, which does give us a chance to kind of fix that cost a little bit. It's limiting Waste Connections from being able to ask for more than 2% in any given year. And I'm kind of fearful of what the contract's going to look like in 3 years when we have to ask people to quote it again, because I'm guessing we're not going to be getting the rates that we're getting now. That's just my thought, seeing what's happening in the construction world and how we've had to change our pricing. So I just want to say that I certainly understand from a business perspective having to ask for this, and being that last year we gave 2%, and the year before 1%. I'd be in favor of accepting the 2% increase to help offset some of those costs. I know it's not going to cover all the cost increase, and just figured I'd say that.
Is that a motion or just a comment?
Yeah, I could certainly turn that into a motion. I just wanted to make my thoughts on the matter clear before I did.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and, Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to approve a 2% rate increase for trash and recycling to Waste Connections effective July 1, 2022.
How about 2023?
2023, that's a typo, sorry. And adjust Bel Aire's utility rates to reflect that increase.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Dean and a second by Mr. David. Any additional discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith?
I'll just say my comments on this. I'm not going to support this. I do appreciate that inflation's gone up, but gas prices are down. And I don't know, when I think about this, the contract gives us the option to voluntarily increase this rate on our citizens. And I think that's there for, things that you may not project. And in order to continue to be a good partner with Waste Connections, I feel like this is more of a routine, hey, we can request it. And so we are a type of an ask. And so I just don't feel like supporting it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg?
can you comment on, from you guys' perspective, where you have a contract with the city and we do allow our citizens to choose other providers? If you can just comment on the efficiency that allows for you guys and kind of the economy of scale, as we have grown a lot and it's become more dense in Bel Aire and we've added a lot of rooftops. Is that not a tremendous benefit to you guys as a growing city where you get a lot more customers just by nature of you're the preferred provider?
It does help. And hopefully I don't know what our percentage, what we have right now. I think it's over 90% of the trash customers off the top of my head. It does make it, I wouldn't say the growth, since it's all in this area, it does make it easier for us to service the growing community. Is that what you're kind of looking for? Yeah.
Does anybody know how the rates compare to the other independent haulers that are around town now?
If just a regular customer that wants our service,
Yes, or even another hauler.
Competitor?
don't know the rates right off the top of my head. I know I think the trash alone price wise, per month is quite a bit more if somebody would just, quite a bit less here than if somebody would call in and want our service subscription base in the city of Wichita. Are you asking if is Bel Aire getting, what kind of discount you're getting? Are you wanting a number?
Well, kind of. I mean, is a Wichita resident paying $15 a month and we're paying $9, or is a Wichita resident paying $10 a month and we're paying $9.85?
I think it's
You know.
close to between $18 and $20 for trash only for Wichita residents.
Okay,
And Bel Aire is paying less than 10.
right. We've got $9.86 here if we got the 2% increase.
Correct.
Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Amber,
may I make a substitute motion?
certainly.
I'm going to make a motion to approve a 1% rate increase for trash and recycling to Waste Connections effective July 1st, 2023, and adjust Bel Aire utility rates to reflect the increase.
I have a substitute motion from Ms. Hamburg. Is there a second? Hearing no second, that motion will fail.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith.
Councilmember Hamburg, can you elaborate on your thought process for why you were proposing that as a motion?
Sure. Gas prices have gone down and our density has increased. And I voted against this last year, partly because the motion was made so quickly and I was pretty new, frankly. But thinking this over, I think we are getting, an okay deal with this contract, but gas prices have gone down and we have continued to grow, and they get 90% of our trash service. So I thought splitting the difference was maybe a fair compromise.
Okay, I'm going to weigh in finally. We're only looking at a 19 cents per month increase when we do 2%. I've got no problem with the 2%. And the gas prices could shoot right back up in a month because there's no guarantee they're going to stay the same for a year.
There's not.
And I imagine other things have gotten more expensive than not going to come down, like the price of tires, the price of alignments on this truck, anything that needs repaired, hydraulics or whatever else. I'm sure all those prices have gone up, even though he didn't mention it.
Well, I said earlier, all of our costs, you name it, have gone up. I mean, there's a list.
And probably as drivers too, just like everybody else is paying higher wages. Not that I'm really on your side. I'm just kind of pointing out your positives.
You make perfect sense.
Okay, so I have a motion by Ms. Hamburg, but I do not have a second. If there is no second, I'll have to declare a failed motion. And I'll declare that this motion failed, and we'll go back to the original motion for a 2% increase. Is there any additional discussion for the original motion for 2% increase?
I'm going to have one more question. So my understanding is our city staff takes care of a lot of the issues with customers. Is that correct? As opposed to calling Waste Connections?
They
directly?
call us. I think we get calls.
Yeah, we handle the signups and the billing and so citizens pay us and then we pay Waste Connections, but complaints and stuff typically will go
Go
to
through
them.
us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 I think I heard 3 ayes.
I think so. Yes,
And
for the nose and verify.
those opposed? Those
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Two opposed. Okay, so I have a motion 3-2. So this motion passes. Let me make some notes here real quick. Okay, very good. So this motion is passed 3-2. Moving on to item C.
Thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome, sir. Thank you. Moving on to item C. So this is a resolution concerning service lease and permit fees within the corporate limits of the city. So on the May 9th workshop, the council discussed the pool, challenges finding staff, as well as increased maintenance costs. As a result, the governing body instructed staff to review the current fees and how they compare to surrounding communities. Recreation Director Brian Hayes conducted research to see what fees may need to be raised, including in the packet are his recommendations. And Ted has incorporated those fees into a revised fee schedule. You can approve the resolution if you support the recommendations, or you can also make changes to the fee prior to adoption. I do have a question. There was a little confusion in my mind last week as to whether we were going to publish this old rates in water bills. Did that happen? Did we publish the old rates?
No, we didn't.
We haven't sent out the water bills, or what did we do?
No, we haven't posted. We didn't advertise. We were going to advertise the pool and the rates and things. All we advertised was that the pool would be open and the dates and stuff, but not the
Oh, but
rates.
not the rates.
To
Okay.
for citizens to check back for rates.
Okay. Because I was going to say it'd be bad form to advertise those, then change them today. So.
Yep. Yep.
Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
All right. All right. Great. Thank you. So any questions or discussions concerning these proposed rates?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean?
I actually did have a comment, and I wasn't sure if Brian had considered this when they evaluated it, or Ted. I know several times when we went to the pool during the summer, it was over capacity. Like we'd show up and it was full. So one of the thoughts I had was, would it make any sense to bump the rate on the weekend another $1 and leave the rate on the weekday $1 less or $1 more than I guess what last year's would have been, just to, if there's that much demand and we're peaking out the pool every weekend, then maybe that could help generate some revenue and also maybe make the pool available more often to people. I don't know. It was just an idea. I'm not in love with it. I just was thinking about it, figured I'd share it.
Surge pricing.
If that's what you want to call it. It was just a thought. If we're going to mess with the fees, should we consider a weekend and weekday rate? Is kind of what my thought process was.
That's not a bad idea to me.
And we're not talking a lot. I mean, we're talking about raising it $1. So, maybe it's $2 more than last year for the weekend rate. I don't know. I don't know if council has any thoughts on that. I just figured I'd bring up the idea.
Yeah. Ms. Hamburg?
I really like Councilmember Dean's idea. I like the idea of raising it during the week, but then helping, since we're over capacity anyway, maybe $1.50 or $2 on the weekend. That makes a lot of sense.
So your suggestion, we do this $1 increase during the week and then maybe $1.50 to $2 for the weekend.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, I think those are good ideas. The big driver here is that they're having a hard time hiring lifeguards. Right. So we need to raise our wages for the lifeguards, and this thing doesn't, just barely breaks even as it is. And that doesn't pay the debt. It just breaks even on operations.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg?
just for clarification, we've already authorized Mr. Hayes to increase what they're offering for lifeguards, right? To try to compete with Wichita and the
Yeah.
Y.
Yeah, we've got, you approved a salary schedule. And so what we have done and we talked about is, we've got a step 1 through like 10. And so what we can do is, instead of starting someone at a step 1, which may be 12, we can go to step 5 or 4, that's 15 to match what everybody else is doing. So yep, that's what we're matching.
Ty, just to follow up of my idea, I should have asked a question. Do you see any issue on the staff side with advertising? Is there any pitfalls to pricing 2 separate ways? Do you think the rec would have an issue with that? I guess maybe we should talk
No,
through
I
that
don't
a little
think it's
bit.
pretty easy to know a Saturday and Sunday. So I think that should be fine. Not sure exactly how much, how many we have on a Saturday and Sunday, how much extra that'll bring in. Staff looked at if based on last year's numbers, so it could go up or down, but increasing the daily fees by $1 will generate an additional roughly 5,000. And so if you added an extra $1 on Saturday and Sunday, it would go up even more. The proposal also was increasing the family membership to 30, which brings in an extra couple thousand. And then increasing rentals by $15 an hour generates an extra 1,500. So all said, we'll collect about 8,500 more. And as the mayor said, the pool loses money. If you look at debt service and operations, it loses about $11,000 a year.
If there's no additional discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean,
a motion to approve, or should I say amend on that one, just clarification if I'm adding the,
You do the amended further down.
yeah.
yeah.
Yep, okay.
Approving-
Just
approving-
clarification. Motion to approve a resolution concerning services license and permit fees within the corporate city limits of the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, as amended, which would be to add a daily fee for weekend to be $2 more than last year, so that'd be $6, and a daily fee for weekday to be $1 more than last year, so $5. I think I said that correctly. And authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dean and a second by Ms. Hamburg. Any additional discussions, questions?
Yeah, the amendment was kind of screwy to me. Do we need to mention that we're amending the daily fee, or just as presented in the document with an additional $1 a day fee on Saturdays and Sundays?
I think that's what he said.
I think that's what he meant.
Yeah.
But since he was spelling out just the daily fee, I was confused that might be taken to not mean an increase to the families and individual memberships, seasonal memberships. And we're proposing to increase those also.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Are you
John.
intended to increase those as proposed in
Yes.
the packet?
Yes.
Okay.
I see what you're saying, John. Yeah, I'll amend it to say, as presented, with the fee schedule, and adding a daily fee charge for the weekend that is $2 more than last year's, or a $6 charge. So everything else would remain the same.
Okay,
Second.
very good. Thank you. Any additional questions or discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This motion carries 5-0. So this next item D is ordinance for conditional use on LED backlight sign at the Resurrection Catholic School. And I don't know why it says St. Gregory the Great there. I don't even know if there is one around here, but okay. At their April meeting, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on the conditional use request from Resurrection Catholic School to add LED backlight message board in a utility easement. The representative of the applicant was present and stood for questions from the commissioners regarding concerns about the brightness of the sign at night and visibility for passing drivers. The representative stated that the sign can be dimmed. Following the hearing, the commission discussed city code standards for illuminated signs. They agreed that the staff is recommending for a 6-month probationary period to determine if any problems, 127 section 15 item C, would result from the placement of the sign. Having thoroughly reviewed the issue, Planning Commission voted by passing 4-0 motion to recommend that council approve the sign proposed at Resurrection Catholic School in an R6 zone as presented with the condition for 6-month probation upon concerns from the general public. The ordinance now comes before the council for final approval. Just for full transparency, I am an active member of Resurrection Church, which fully funds Resurrection School. I have not personally had any involvement in this sign concept other than to remind the pastor that these signs must be approved by both the Planning Commission and the City Council. Of course, I nor my wife would gain no benefit from such a sign. Any discussion concerning the LED sign? Mr. Cook is here if you have any questions. We do have some of these signs in, around the city that we've had some issues with the illumination and we've
Yeah,
had to ask.
and
them
that's
to turn them
the
back.
reason for the 6-month probationary period is in the past, we want to see if we get complaints
Mhm.
to let them know, hey, you got to dim that down. Our code does have a specific nit, and it's in your packet, but I forget the exact number.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welch.
I guess I too should disclose that I'm a member of Resurrection Parish. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything on this ordinance, but other than I belong there. But I did have a question for Jay. This sign is going to be at ground level?
It's going to be it will be a monument sign similar to that, but it's going to be LED lit. So
Okay,
it'll
and
be a message board sign.
So about similar to what Sunrise has? They've got a sign, don't they, on the
Trying to
ground
think of
level?
what.
Yeah, Sunrise is a little taller, so this is
Maybe the
more
church.
I think it's
ground
about
level.
about
Maybe the
11
church,
foot.
church
sign.
across the street from Sunrise. How about that one? 'Cause it's more like that.
More like that. Well, I was just picking on Sunrise because they're right there by the road. And
Yeah.
what I'm concerned about is how bright that is for traffic.
Right. And that's the reason we do the conditional use and also the reason why we do the 6-month probationary period so that we can get input if it's too bright or, give it the okay if we don't have any issues. And where it's located, I'm not sure we'd have a lot. There is a lot of traffic there on 45th, but I don't think we'd have a lot of issues with traffic or vision issues.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith.
I'll make a motion to accept an ordinance for conditional use, CON-23-03 LED backlit sign at the Resurrection Catholic School in R6 zoning and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Dean. This is a roll call vote, so is there any additional discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Miss Emily Hamburg,
Aye.
Mr. Justin Smith,
Aye.
Mr. John Welch,
Aye.
and Mayor Jim Benaj.
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. So item E is considered an ordinance vacating a portion of a platted building setback line on certain property. So at their April meeting, Planning Commission also held a public hearing on a request to vacate a 10-foot back building setback to 4 feet for Lot 20, Block 1, the Villas at Prestwick. As the applicant explained, more space is needed in the front of the units to lessen the grade of the driveways and hopefully avoid falling hazards for the residents. Having thoroughly reviewed the request, the Planning Commission voted by passing 4-0 motion to recommend the City Council vacate the back building setback from 10 feet to 4 feet at Villas at Prestwick as presented without changes. The order of vacation now comes before the council for approval. So just for clarification, is this along Central Park?
Yeah,
Where
it's
these
the
will
corner
go?
of at the corner of Central Park and Rock. It'll be its back will be to Central Park. Its sides will be to Rock Road.
Right. So this would be then roughly, these buildings would be roughly 4 feet from the sidewalk?
No, it'll actually there's a reserve H that's 30 feet, so it's still going to be
Okay.
about 35 feet from the sidewalk, which is an extra 5 feet from the road. So
Okay. Okay.
Vision Triangle was considered by the Planning Commission, and we thought 60 feet off of Rock, and then it's still about 35, 36 feet off of Central Park. It's a sufficient request that we
Yeah.
thought was.
Okay. I was just going to say, if it's 4 feet from that sidewalk, that's
No,
awfully
no.
close.
No, there's still it's a reserve H back there for drainage that will
Right.
still be there. That's 30 feet. So
Okay. Very good.
there's technically 40 feet to the sidewalk, I think, and they're just asking for that 6 to, like you said, to elderly community living in there will have a less likely to trip as they walk down a more sloped driveway. It's a little tight in there with all those triplexes, so they're doing the best they can, and we're trying to help.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hamburg.
I'm going to make a motion to approve an order vacating a portion of a platted building setback line on certain property located in Villas at Prestwick Addition within the corporate city limits of the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hamburg, a second by Mr. Welch. And this is a roll call vote also, so I'll ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Aye.
Mr. Justin Smith,
Aye.
Mr. John Welch,
Aye.
and Mayor Jim Benaj.
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And thanks, Ms. Hill, for helping me on the ordinances in the vacation order.
Okay, so item F is accept bid for Cedar Pass water and storm sewer improvements. So we just paid them some money, but this is additional improvements. I think the other was for sanitary sewer. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so the developer of Cedar Pass is ready to move forward with water and storm sewer improvements, and the cost of the improvements will be financed through a bond spread as special assessments against the benefiting lots. The 3 contractors submitted bids with Nowak Construction being the low bidder. Staff recommends the city council accept the bid from Nowak in the amount of $1,049,176.90. Any discussion concerning these bids?
Will this include test points for the water, or is that have to go on a different type of water main? water
That
line?
would be, no, this was installed and bid out, or installed and designed before we started talking about the test points. I appreciate you bringing that up because since I don't do the water testing on a daily basis, I don't think about it as I'm reviewing my plans, but that is something that would be a good idea to put in. I'm not sure if it's cheaper to have the contractor purchase the test points and have them install it, or if it's cheaper for us to purchase the testing points and have the contractor install it as they're installing the water main. But that is something that I will look at.
Okay, so either way, we can get that done maybe before we turn the water on.
Yes.
Okay, that would be great. I will make a motion to accept the bid from Nowak in the amount of $1,049,176.90 for the Cedar Pass water and storm sewer improvements, and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Welch, a second by Mr. Smith. Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This motion carries 5-0. Considering a third addendum to the water service area agreement with the USDA loan involved. So the rural water districts throughout the U.S. have great protections under federal law. The reason is that rural water districts were set up to provide potable water to rural customers that have large stretches between homeowners. Oftentimes, the RWDs would borrow federal dollars to install the infrastructure, so the federal government wanted to ensure their investments were protected. As cities grow and annex land, the service boundaries change from the municipality for both the municipality and the RWD. In essence, the city is taking away potential revenue from the water district. Federal law requires the water district and city to negotiate a purchase of rights and service. When Bel Aire annexed nearly 2,000 acres in 2006, the RWD requested to be reimbursed for that territory. In 2013, after much negotiation, the Rural Water District won, and the city of Bel Aire agreed to a cost that was paid over time. That obligation has been paid, but Bel Aire recently annexed 160 acres into the city limits. And as a result, staff and RWD were able to negotiate a third amendment to take over the rights to serve 128 Section 15, Item C, and those areas. The cost of this will be paid from the water fund, and added revenues from the customers will aid in the repayment of cost. Of course, that revenue will happen once they're developed, right? Oh, okay. So, any questions or discussion concerning this new agreement with the Rural Water District 1?
Mr. Mayor, I did have a couple questions. Ty, I'm not sure if you're the right person, if you're the one that negotiated this. Are the rates that are in there, the per acre rate and the per foot, per inch per foot rate, are those preset rates by the federal government, or is that something that was truly negotiated?
No, those are, and that's, uh, this whole situation has been talked about and litigated for years, and millions of dollars have been spent. And it's still not perfect because cities have to negotiate this. And what's interesting is I worked with the Rural Water District to get this agreement. And of course, Jackie's now in Derby and they're doing the same thing, and they have a different rate. It's much higher than our rate, and they're wanting our rate. And so, so that's a unique situation that it's every rural water district can negotiate however they want with whatever city or municipality. And so this is truly an agreement just between Bel Aire and the rural water district. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Ty. I just wanted that insight. I certainly appreciate the ability for us to negotiate it and to work with rural water district. It's certainly an added benefit to our city to have that infrastructure as a part of our city. So thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith.
the costs in the agreement were per foot, per inch foot, per acre. What's the total cost of the agreement?
So for parcel one, the total cost is $92,360. And for parcel two, it's $102,778. And that's for, and again, the things that they're asking for, that is something that they have the legal right to request reimbursement for. Pipes that they've already installed. The benefit unit is basically a customer, a meter, and then the per acre is basically lost revenue from being able to serve that. So that's what those three things, and those are each legally negotiable, and that's how those came up.
So at the conclusion of this agreement, the city of Bel Aire will own all of that line and be responsible for maintaining all of the lines that they had put in?
Yes, we'll own them. Now, will we use them or not? It depends, whether there's a benefit.
Do we know their condition to understand if they actually have any material value?
We don't. Typically, what you run into is rural water districts, because they don't serve commercial, they have smaller lines. So I think for parcel one, I believe was like a 4-inch. Now the parcel two, which they're asking for $1.30, is a larger line, like a 6-inch line. The location where parcel two is at, of course, they're asking for their request was 650 an acre because it's commercial. That 6-inch line, 8-inch line wouldn't even serve. I mean, we're going to look at a 16-inch main probably up there. So the question of, we're buying the line, can we use it? Probably not. But what we're really not buying the line, we're paying them for the cost of them installing the line and us taking it over, basically. So we're not really buying the line.
So we're spending $200,000 and not really getting anything of value for it.
Other than the ability to serve it. Yeah.
Because if we
And-
don't do this, then rural water district is still responsible for serving these parcels.
Mm-hmm.
Are they interested in signing up to do that?
So there's two issues with that. One is developers don't want to deal with rural water districts because they're set up for farm, to go for a mile for a farmhouse. So they've got small lines, they got low pressures. And so you're trying to serve, you'll have a house on 80 acres versus three houses on 1 acre. And so they're not set up to serve that amount. The other issue you can run into is fire protection. We have low insurance rates here because we have great fire flows. And so sometimes if they can't meet those fire flows, their insurance goes up. The bigger part of it is commercial. They're just not set up to handle commercial at all. And so if we had a rural water district and the one parcel two is basically next to where Integra's, it's at Webb and 254, it's going to be commercial.
Mhm.
They don't have the ability to serve it.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. And so the way I was thinking about it is they're not set up to serve that. It would be a liability for them to have to serve that. They should be paying us to take on this obligation. Not sure how this works out.
The other piece of it is that that we provide. They don't provide sewer. We provide sewer. So how do we measure sewer? It's by water meters. So that's the struggle. Is even if we said, why don't you go ahead and serve it, and they said, okay, we'll serve it. Then how do we monitor sewer usage, because they're the ones charging the water and they have the meters. So yeah, I
think there's-
understand completely.
I think the other issue here is what I'm reading here is that there's some federal legislation on this. And in order to not negotiate it the way that this has been done, probably have to ask Congress to change the laws, and that probably ain't going to happen.
Is there any value to being connected to the rural water district since we would have piping? Could they provide water in an emergency or?
Potentially, I'd have to find out, where their, what sides of where their storage capacity is at. A lot of rural water districts, like that tank there, may only hold 300,000 gallons, and our tanks are 1 million gallons. So I'd have to see how much capacity they have to hold, and that equates into their pressures and stuff. So we would have to look into that.
Okay, so really all we're getting is nothing, and we're getting rid of any obligation to the rural water district.
Basically, yes. Basically, we're reimbursing them for the expense that they put in to serve this area and their lost revenues. And as the mayor said, it's federal legislation. They are very well protected, and it's something that cities across the U.S. have fought with rural water districts for years. And
I don't argue with them being compensated for having gone to the trouble to put in lines. It's just, are we getting a fair shake? And you negotiated this, so I guess we're getting the best deal we can.
Yeah, like I said, I know I talked to Jackie just a couple weeks ago because she knew I was negotiating this, and she wanted to know what we were paying. And she said, well, we want that deal. And I said, well, wait till we get our deal signed before you go getting them wound up because they'll come back and want what you're doing. So yeah, I know what some other districts are doing. This is
I will make a motion to approve the third addendum to the water service area agreement, USDA loan involved, including compensation for territory and facilities and permanent water service territories between the city of Bel Aire and Sedgwick County Rural Water District Number 1, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Welch and a second by Mr. David. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And item H is consider employment agreement for the city attorney position. So we all know our previous city attorney resigned to take same position with City of Derby. As a result, we selected an interview committee consisting of Emily Hamburg, John Welch, Ty Lasher, and myself to review the applications and conduct interviews. The committee reviewed a number of applicants for both part-time and full-time consideration, and then interviewed several candidates. After much consideration, the committee is recommending the council enter into employment agreement with Maria Schrock as the new full-time city attorney. Maria has signed the agreement, included in the packet, and the agreement is ready for council approval. If this agreement is approved, her start date will be June 12th.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I'm going to make a motion to approve an employment agreement for the city attorney position by and between the City of Bel Aire and Maria Schrock as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hamburg and a second by Mr. Welch. Any discussion? Ms. Schrock was here earlier. I hope everybody had a chance to meet her. Great. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0. Should be here June 12th, I guess. We're going to cut your time off. So, you're okay with that? Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, moving on to item I, consideration of flock safety system within the city of Bel Aire. So flock has created a cameras system that identifies license plates of those entering or exiting the camera's view. The vehicle has been flagged as one of interest, drives past the camera. The system notifies law enforcement agency where the camera is located. That vehicle can then be stopped by law enforcement and possibly resolve open criminal cases. Most cities in Sedgwick County utilize this system. So Chief Atterbury wanted to install a couple of cameras to test the system. At the May 9th workshop, Chief Atterbury explained the system, benefits, and cost. After much discussion, the City Council felt this type of system is not something desired in Bel Aire. 5 cameras were installed at no cost for a 45-day trial. Action on this agenda is to accept Chief's proposal for 5 cameras at a year one cost of $14,250 and an annual cost of $12,500, or deny the request, which then ends the trial period and the company will be requested to remove the cameras at no cost. And we did this.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to deny the installation of 5 flock camera systems within the city limits of Bel Aire.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Welch to deny and a second by Mr. Smith. Any additional discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I did want to make a few comments before we voted. As many are aware, we did discuss this during the workshop, and I'm not as concerned with the privacy issues that several have stated. As my understanding that these devices do not track any sensitive information and are being used on a public right of way to track vehicles and plates, which are required by law to be registered. As a growing city, I see the use of this technology as an aid in helping produce leads for investigative work for our PD to catch bad guys and keep crime down, while also being the most efficient and effective with our officers' time and our taxpayers' dollars. For those reasons, I do support utilizing these at the major intersections entering our community. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I also support what Chief Atterbury has done. I think we constantly ask our city officials to leverage costs, reduce costs, and to leverage technology. And that's exactly what he's done here. It's obviously a common thing. I certainly appreciate the council's sentiment on it. I think we're lucky to have a council that is concerned with privacy laws and Fourth Amendment. But I think this is a huge cost advantage to us that keeps our officers safe and keeps them productive, and I support it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg.
Yeah, this is one that's not a slam dunk either way when you weigh things out. Even over the weekend in Rose Hill, they caught a Georgia murder suspect, and they caught the individual or the suspect involved with the deadly shooting in Plainview. So, but when I weigh it all out, just in terms of what we talked about last week, and I would encourage residents to refer back to our May 9th workshop. But just as of right now, my concerns outweigh the clear benefits that would come with these. So at this time, I'm not in support of keeping the flock cameras. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith.
as I stated in the workshop, and I won't repeat myself, we did have robust discussion there, but my concerns here aren't with this specific technology or my faith in our ability to implement it. It's with the philosophical level on this issue, and with the government implementing any sort of mass surveillance program like this, it just concerns me, and I can't support it. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I have a motion to deny. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
This motion carries 3-2. All right, moving on, item 13, we don't have any need for an executive session this evening, right? Okay. So item 14, discussion of future issues. Are there any issues we need to list to discuss? No? Well, we go item 15 and there won't be any discussion here.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Welch.
Second.
Second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Too bad. We're adjourned, 5-0.
Wow, we did something wrong. Just barely over an hour.